The camera is live. The room is packed with reporters, and a tense buzz fills the air. At the center of the long wooden table sits former official and attorney Kash Patel, preparing to face a round of sharp questions. Congressman Goldman opens a folder filled with documents that journalists have already nicknamed the files that could change the entire conversation. He lifts his head slowly, eyes locked on Patel. Mr. Patel, Goldman begins in a calm, deliberate voice. These documents mention a very well-known political figure. Can you explain what role Donald Trump played in this situation? A wave of silence rolls through the room. Several cameras instantly swivel to capture Patel's reaction. Patel leans forward slightly, then suddenly says, "I am sorry, I did not hear the question." Goldman blinks, confused, almost amused. "Mr. Patel, I just directly asked you about Trump's involvement in these files. You did not hear that." Patel straightens up, his expression cool and unreadable. "You may want to repeat it," he replies, as if buying a few precious seconds. The journalists erupt into a frenzy of flashes, whispers, and rapid typing. The hearing room turns into a battlefield of eyes and lenses. Goldman leans closer, lifting the folder. "Fine, I will repeat it. These documents," he taps the page, "mention Trump. Did you know about this? Yes or no?" Patel pauses for so long that the silence becomes heavy enough to feel. "I cannot comment on anything I have not personally verified," he finally says. "And as for your question, I did not catch the part involving specific names." The room explodes with noise. Reporters whisper urgently. Cameras snap nonstop, and even committee members exchange glances. Goldman raises a brow. "You did not hear it?" He repeats slowly. The room freezes for a moment, as if everyone is waiting for someone else to breathe first. Congressman Goldman slowly closes the folder, but his eyes never leave Patel. "Mr. Patel," he says, lowering his voice, "you are under oath. I am giving you every opportunity to answer clearly. Are you saying you truly did not hear the question, or are you avoiding it?" A low murmur ripples through the audience. Even the cameras seem to lean in. Patel folds his hands on the table, his tone calm but firm. "I am saying I cannot answer something that is not fully clear to me," he insists. "The sound in this room is not perfect, and I prefer accuracy over assumptions." Goldman exhales through his nose, clearly irritated but trying not to show it too much. "All right then," he says sharply. "I will ask again. These documents contain references to Trump. Did you review these documents before arriving today?" Patel glances at the stack of papers in front of him, then back at Goldman. "I reviewed what was provided to me," he answers carefully, "but I will not comment on the involvement of any individuals until I confirm the details myself." Goldman leans back in his chair, his expression shifting from frustration to disbelief. "So you are telling this committee that you came here unprepared to answer direct questions?" he challenges. Another wave of whispers breaks out behind the cameras. Patel shakes his head slowly. "I came prepared to tell the truth. I did not come to speculate." For a moment, even Goldman seems caught off guard by the firmness in Patel's voice. The tension in the room tightens like a drum. Then Goldman smirks. "Very well," he says. "Since you are having difficulty hearing, I will make it crystal clear next." A murmur rolls through the room. The confrontation is only escalating. Goldman lifts another sheet of paper, tapping it twice for emphasis. "Mr. Patel," he says, voice sharp as a blade, "did Donald Trump have any involvement in the events described in these files? Yes or no?" Patel looks straight at him. "I cannot answer that," he replies. The room erupts. The noise in the room becomes a storm. Reporters stand, rushing to capture every angle. Committee members whisper to each other with raised eyebrows. Even the security guards shift uneasily, sensing the rising pressure. Goldman lifts his hand, calling for order. "Settle down," he commands. The room gradually quiets, though tension still crackles like static. He turns back to Patel. "Mr. Patel, you are refusing to answer a direct question," Goldman says. "This is not optional. The public deserves clarity, and so does this committee." Patel does not blink. "I am refusing to guess," he replies calmly. "There is a difference." Goldman leans forward, elbows on the table, voice low and sharp. You keep saying you did not hear the question. Then you say you cannot answer. Which is it? Patel meets his gaze head-on. I will answer when I have verified information, he says. Not before. The room reacts with a mix of gasps and groans. Some reporters nod, impressed. Others shake their heads, sensing a political disaster unfolding in slow motion. Goldman presses his palms against the table. You knew this topic would come up, he fires back. You knew these documents would be discussed. You had every chance to prepare. Patel maintains his calm posture. I prepare for facts, he says, not speculation. Goldman narrows his eyes. So you deny knowing anything about Trump's presence in these files? Patel's jaw tightened for the first time. I am not denying or confirming, he says slowly. I am telling you that the question is incomplete, and I will not respond until I have absolute clarity. A ripple goes through the room. One journalist whispers loudly enough to be heard. He is dodging, completely dodging. Another fires back, or he knows something huge and he is terrified to say it. Goldman sits back, drumming his fingers on the desk, a sign he is preparing his next move. He looks at Patel with a new intensity. Very well, Goldman says. If you claim you need clarity, then clarity is exactly what you will get. The room braces itself. Even Patel's expression shifts ever so slightly, as if he knows the next question will be the most explosive one yet. The room falls into a charged silence. Even the reporters sense that Goldman is about to launch the question he has been building toward since the hearing began. Goldman slides a single sheet from the folder and places it on the center of the desk, turning it so Patel can see it clearly. His voice drops to a cold, surgical tone. Mr. Patel, he says, this page contains a timeline of contacts involving prominent individuals. One of the names listed is Donald Trump. Are you prepared to explain why this name appears here? The air feels heavy, like everyone is holding the same breath. Patel studies the document, but does not touch it. His expression remains neutral, but a faint tension forms at the corner of his eyes. I will not answer that without full context, Patel responds. A name on a list does not automatically imply involvement, and I refuse to contribute to a false narrative. Goldman raises an eyebrow. A false narrative, he repeats. Are you suggesting these documents are inaccurate? I am suggesting, Patel says firmly, that a single mention does not equal guilt, responsibility, or participation. If you want answers, I need the complete set of facts. The room buzzes again, but this time with deeper intensity. The back row of journalists starts typing furiously, already crafting headlines. Goldman nods slowly, almost theatrically. So, he says, you see Trump's name here. You know it is relevant, but you will not confirm what that relevance is. Patel keeps his voice even. That is correct. Not until I have verified information. I am not here to guess or fuel speculation. Goldman taps the desk with a single finger. You do understand, he says, that your refusal only intensifies public suspicion. Patel gives a small, controlled breath. My responsibility is to the truth, not to the court of public opinion. For a moment, the room is stunned. Even Goldman seems caught off guard, his lips pressed together in frustration. He leans forward, delivering his next line like a precision strike. Mr. Patel, you claim you need more context. So let us remove every excuse. I will ask you a question that requires no speculation, no interpretation, no guesswork. The room leans in. Goldman locks eyes with Patel. Have you personally seen any evidence that clears Donald Trump from these files? Patel freezes. A journalist whispers sharply. Oh no, that is a trap. Goldman waits, unblinking. Patel slowly lifts his gaze, carefully weighing every word. I have seen evidence, he says, but I will not characterize it until I have reviewed every piece. The room erupts again. Some shout, some gasp, some laugh in disbelief. Goldman rises slightly from his seat. Then you admit there's evidence that still needs review? Patel nods once. Yes. Goldman smiles. The kind of smile that signals a turning point. Then we will continue, he says. The room is a powder keg now. Every reporter in the back row is already crafting headlines in their minds. Committee members shift forward in their seats, sensing the gravity of the moment. Goldman steadies himself, hands folded, gaze sharp. "Mr. Patel," he begins, "you just admitted there is evidence you still need to review. That means you cannot confirm Trump is cleared." "Correct." Patel's eyes narrow, but his voice remains steady. "I said I will not characterize the evidence until it is fully reviewed. That does not imply guilt or innocence." Goldman leans in. "It implies uncertainty." A ripple runs through the room. Patel takes a slow breath, choosing his words with surgical precision. "It implies responsibility," he answers. "Responsibility to avoid misleading the public or this committee." Goldman taps a pen against the desk, the sound echoing like a countdown. "Let me ask you something even simpler," he says. "Did you speak with anyone from Trump's team before this hearing?" The room stiffens again. Cameras zoom in. Patel shifts only a fraction of an inch. "I speak with many individuals in my professional duties," he replies carefully, "but I did not coordinate testimony with any political team." Goldman nods slowly, as if making mental notes. "Good," he says. "Now we are getting somewhere." He flips another page. "Mr. Patel, we have records that show communication between you and individuals who previously worked with Trump. Would you classify those communications as preparation for this hearing?" Patel shakes his head. "No, those were unrelated conversations." "You are reaching." Goldman gives a thin, humorless smile. Maybe we are uncovering the full picture." A journalist whispers loudly enough for half the room to hear. He is cornering him. Slowly. Patel folds his arms loosely, a rare sign of irritation breaking through his calm exterior. "I am not being cornered," Patel says. "I am being questioned, and I am answering." Goldman raises his eyes. "Then answer this," he says, voice sharp again. "Why did you hesitate when I first asked about Trump's involvement?" The question hits like a hammer. Patel tightens his jaw. "I hesitated," he says carefully, "because I refuse to be dragged into political theater. I am here to discuss facts, not to feed sensational headlines." Goldman leans back, smirking slightly. "Mr. Patel, you are already part of theater. The question is whether you are a witness or a shield." The room gasps. Patel's eyes flash with the first hint of frustration. "I am neither," he says. "I am here to provide clarity. But you seem more interested in spectacle than truth." The tension spikes so sharply that even the microphone seemed to hum. Goldman lifts a new document. "In that case," he says softly, "let's raise the stakes." The room goes dead silent. Even Patel stops breathing for a moment. "Next question," Goldman says, "will determine whether you've been holding something back." The silence is so deep it feels alive. Even the cameras stop clicking. Everyone knows Goldman is preparing to strike with a question he has been saving. Patel sits still, hands clasped, posture steady. But his eyes betray the slightest tension. Goldman clears his throat. "Mr. Patel," he says slowly, "you insist you only want to deal in facts. Very well. Here is a fact." He lifts a document, its corners worn from repeated handling. This page contains a series of entries from the files. Several names appear beside specific events. One entry includes Trump's name next to a date and location. We are not asking for speculation. We are asking if you recognize this entry. He places a paper on the table, turning it toward Patel. Patel studies it with a deliberate calm. The room watches every movement, every twitch, every blink. After a long moment, Patel speaks. "I recognize the format," he says. "I recognize the style of the record, but I cannot confirm the accuracy without cross-checking the source." Goldman immediately leans forward. "Do you deny the entry exists?" "I deny nothing," Patel replies. "But existence does not equal truth. Documents can be incomplete, misinterpreted, or intentionally misleading." A wave of murmurs washes through the room. Some committee members nod. Others roll their eyes. Goldman presses on. "Then let me ask you directly," he says. "Has any member of any political team asked you to avoid mentioning Trump's name today?" Patel's head lifts sharply. No, he says. No one has instructed me to avoid anything. Not even indirectly? Goldman counters. No. The room shifts again. The tension flickers, but refuses to dissipate. Goldman taps the document with 2 fingers. You are a seasoned attorney. You know what this looks like. You know what the public sees when a witness dodges, stalls, or refuses to characterize evidence. Patel tightens his jaw. I am refusing to jump to conclusions, he says. That is not stalling. That is discipline. Goldman raises a brow. Is it discipline, he asks quietly, or fear? Patel's eyes harden. For the first time, the calm veneer cracks. I fear nothing, Patel says. The firmness in his voice sends a ripple of reactions through the room. Goldman sees the opening. He takes it. If that is true, he says, then you will not object to the next question. Patel leans forward slightly. I will answer what I can, he says. Goldman locks eyes with him. Very well, he says. Then tell us this. During your review of the files, did you see any entry that raises concern about Trump's involvement? The room stops breathing. Patel blinks once. Slowly, his voice emerges, low and controlled. I saw entries, he says, and some of them raise questions. A collective gasp sweeps the room. Goldman does not smile, but his eyes flash with victory. So you admit there are questions, he says. Patel nods. Yes. Goldman leans back. Then we are far from finished. The room is on the edge of eruption. Reporters are typing so fast the clatter sounds like rain on metal. Committee members exchange glances that say everything without a word. Goldman lifts his next document, like a showman, revealing the next card in a high-stakes game. Mr. Patel, he begins, you just acknowledge that some entries raise questions. Let's explore what those questions are. Patel's jaw tightens, but he does not look away. I said they raise questions, he clarifies, not conclusions. Goldman ignores the distinction. These questions, he says, do they concern the presence of certain individuals or the timing of their appearances in these files? Patel answers without hesitation. They concern context. Specifically, missing context. Goldman tilts his head, intrigued. Missing context, he repeats. Explain. Patel keeps his tone steady, though the room feels hotter by the second. Some entries list names without explanation. Patel says, no reason, no interaction, nothing. A name alone is not proof of wrongdoing. And without full background, it is irresponsible to accuse anyone. Goldman gives a half smile. Yet you admit the entries are concerning. Concerning because they are incomplete, Patel says sharply, not because they prove anything. A reporter whispers. He is walking a tightrope. Another responds. No, he is building his own. Goldman continues. Let's get specific, he says. When you saw Trump's name in these entries, what was your first reaction? Patel pauses. A long pause. One that fills the room with dread and anticipation. My first reaction, he finally says, was to question why the entry lacked detail. Because a name without context is not evidence. Goldman nods slowly, as if expecting this answer. And yet, he presses, you did not dismiss the entry. Patel responds calmly. I did not dismiss any entry. That is called due diligence. Goldman folds his hands, leaning forward. Did any entry suggest that Trump was present in a location or event connected to the core investigation? Patel's jaw flexes. I cannot confirm that without reviewing the full database, he says. And I refuse to misrepresent what I saw. Goldman taps his pen lightly against the desk. Mr. Patel, he says, you keep insisting on clarity, but clarity requires answers. The public is watching this hearing very closely. They deserve to know the truth. Patel leans in. They deserve the full truth, he says, not fragments. Goldman's eyes sharpen. Then let us complete the picture. He picks up a sealed envelope and holds it up for the room to see. Gasps echo across the chamber. Inside the envelope is something new, something not yet revealed. Mr. Patel, Goldman says, voice slow and deliberate. This envelope contains material that has not been discussed publicly. The next question will determine whether you have been fully transparent today. The entire room leans forward. Even Patel's shoulders tense slightly. Goldman places the envelope down in front of him. Are you ready for the next question? Patel stares at the envelope as if it might explode. Then he nods. I am ready. Goldman lifts his gaze, preparing to deliver the most explosive question yet. The envelope sits between them like a live wire. The entire room leans in as Goldman slowly slides a hand over it, tapping the corner as if testing its weight. Patel does not blink. His posture is stiff, alert, prepared for impact. Goldman finally speaks. Mr. Patel, he says carefully, inside this envelope is a set of records that were recently unsealed. These records include cross-references between key individuals and specific dates. Some of those names match entries you have already reviewed. A wave of whispers ripples across the room. Patel keeps his eyes locked on Goldman. Goldman continues. I will ask you a simple question. One that requires no speculation, no interpretation, no conclusions. He pauses for dramatic effect. In your professional opinion, do any of these new records contradict your claim that you need more context before discussing Trump's involvement? Patel inhales slowly, measuring his response. I cannot answer a question about records I have not reviewed, he says. You know that. Goldman smiles faintly, almost as if he expected this. That is why, he says, we are going to review one of them together. The room gasps. Reporters lean forward. A few committee members exchange tense glances. Patel's expression tightens. Right now, he asks. Right now, Goldman repeats. Goldman opens the envelope with a clean, crisp tear. He removes a single page and holds it up, but not high enough for the cameras to see. He keeps it angled toward Patel only. Mr. Patel, he says, this entry shows Trump's name alongside another individual. It includes a date, a location, and a timestamp. The room holds its breath. Do you recognize this entry? Goldman asks. Patel studies the page for a long moment. His face remains controlled. But there is a subtle shift in his posture, a tension tightening his shoulders. Finally, he speaks. I recognize the layout, he says quietly, but this is the first time I am seeing this specific entry. Goldman nods. Then let me ask you again, he says. Does this entry give you the context you claimed was missing? Patel hesitates. For the first time since the hearing began, he truly hesitates. I need to see the surrounding information, he says. One page is not enough. Goldman leans forward. This page, he says, tapping it with his finger, shows Trump's name next to a date that aligns with a previously known event. Are you prepared to discuss why this alignment matters? Patel shakes his head firmly. No, he says, because without the rest of the records, I cannot say whether this alignment is accurate, misleading, or coincidental. A rumble moves through the room. Goldman lowers the page slightly. Mr. Patel, he says, voice tightening, every time I present new information, you retreat behind the same phrase. Not enough context, not enough detail, not enough certainty. Patel fires back immediately. Because that is the truth. You want a headline. I want accuracy. Goldman slams the page down on the table. Then answer this, he demands. Does this new entry raise more questions for you? Patel looks down at it one more time. Then he nods. Yes, he says. It does. The room explodes in noise. Goldman lifts his voice above the chaos. Then we will move forward to the next phase of questioning. Patel's eyes flicker. He knows the real confrontation is only beginning. The room is shaking with excitement. Reporters are already drafting headlines. Committee members brace themselves, and the air crackles with the electricity of a political showdown reaching its peak. Goldman places both hands on the table and leans in. Mr. Patel, he begins, you have now seen entry from both the original files and the newly unsealed records. You have admitted that some raise questions. You have acknowledged that context is missing. You have stated that this new page creates even more uncertainty. Patel remains silent, watching, waiting. Goldman's voice sharpens. So now we arrive at the final question. A question that the public is demanding. A question this committee must ask. He lifts the page from the table and holds it directly between them, eye level. Mr. Patel, he says slowly, based on everything you have seen, everything you have reviewed, and everything you have refused to assume. A long pause fills the room. Cameras zoom in. Every cough, every breath sounds too loud. Do you believe that Donald Trump should be fully cleared from these files until the entire record is reviewed? Patel does not blink. He sits perfectly still. Even his breath seems suspended in the air. Then, finally, he answers. No, Patel says quietly. A shock wave slams through the room. Gasps erupt like fireworks. Reporters stand, scrambling for angles, shouting questions at the top of their lungs. Committee members lean forward, stunned. Goldman's expression shifts, not to triumph but to solemnity. So you believe, he says, that nothing should be dismissed until a complete set of facts is known. Patel nods once. That is correct, he replies. Everyone deserves a fair review, including Trump, including anyone else whose name appears in these records. That is not an accusation. It is a commitment to truth. The room freezes. The frenzy stops for a moment as the wave of his words settles. Goldman sets the page down and closes the envelope slowly. This hearing, he says, is not about scoring political victories. It is about transparency. And today, Mr. Patel, you made it clear that the truth is bigger than anyone's discomfort. Patel exhales, the tension finally leaving his shoulders. I told you, he says softly, I am here for accuracy, not theater. Goldman nods. And today, he replies, whether you intended to or not, you delivered both. The room erupts again. Flashes, shouts, hands waving for attention. But the confrontation is over. The drama has reached its peak. The headline is already writing itself. Patel gathers his papers quietly. Goldman addresses the room. This hearing is adjourned. He strikes the gavel. The echo carries through the chamber like a final heartbeat.